Alicia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that you came back again. So, how has your week been?
It's been stressful.
Stressful?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to get into that. So, I want to see a little bit more about where your emotions lie. So, thinking about this past week that you've been having on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being the least stressed and 10 being the most stressed, where do you think you were, where do you think you were on the scale?
I would have to give it an 8.
An 8?
Just so stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't know what to do.
Okay, yeah. Alright.
Stressed out with school.
With school? Anything
Yeah.
else?
Just stressed out with school, all this work that's due,
Mhm.
and I want to graduate. It's, we're coming up to the end of the semester.
Mm-hmm.
The semester ends December 4th, and I'm telling you, I'm counting the days down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well, we're going to get a little more into that in a second. So, how about we set the agenda again? So, you remember how we did it for the other session? So, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set our agenda. So, first thing, since we already did the mood check, the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to get an update from you. So, a little bit more detail on how your week went. You kind of already gave me a little bit of an overview. So, we're going to get an update. We're going to review the homework that you were working on for the past week. Then we're going to prioritize the agenda. So pick a specific thing to discuss and, just dive into. And then we're also going to get some new homework for the week. We're going to come up with that together. And then I'm going to summarize what we've talked about just to reinforce. And then I'm going to ask you for your feedback again. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's get into what's been happening since I saw you last. Why don't you tell me a little bit of what's been going on?
Well, every 2 weeks, I go to school every other Sunday.
Yes.
And I'm at Southern. I love it there. So we get new sets of homework every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And even though I go to school 1 day a week, but this homework is just so much.
Yeah.
And my group members, they're texting me saying, get this due for our project, do this, do that. And, not only am I a student, but I work 40 hours a week and I have my internship. And I'm just so stressed and I've just been having meltdowns when it comes to doing my homework.
Okay. All right. Well, you mentioned your stress over homework that you've been having, your friends texting you, that stresses you out even more. So you're just feeling overwhelmed. So I'm noticing these are all negative things. So how about we identify something positive that happened this week?
Well, one thing positive is Halloween.
Oh yes, Halloween was this past week. What did you do?
I went home and went to sleep. But the thing about it was when I went into internship, there were no patients there, so my supervisor gave me the day off.
That is so nice.
Yeah. Then I went home and went to sleep.
Okay, that's a good positive, an unexpected day off. You get to sleep. That's really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you identified that. Okay, well let's go over the thought record that you were working on. So how many thoughts were you able to identify?
I came up with about 4 thoughts a day.
4 thoughts a day? Okay. So, so you think it worked out for you, writing down those thoughts and doing that?
Yeah, it worked out. Sometimes I was a little confused because I didn't really know what to write down.
So what kind of things were you writing down then?
I was writing down like if my coworkers stressed me out at work, I was just writing down these people get on my nerves. I was writing down, they were just bugging me, stressing me out. And I was writing that down, and then when it came time to do my homework, I had other thoughts going on.
Okay, and what thoughts were you having when you were doing your homework?
This is too much, and I'm going to fail.
Okay. Okay, so that's what you were thinking, this is too much and that I'm going to fail.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think with those things we can move on to really prioritizing the agenda and picking two of the most important problems to focus on today. So we're going to pick two of them, and one we're going to start discussing, and the second one we may not get to. So it's if we run out of time, which is the most important thing that you want to talk about today?
Well, two things that are going on with me.
Okay.
The first one is I think I'm going to fail. And that's what I really want to talk about today.
Okay, that's what you really want to talk about?
But then my other thing is my job.
Your job? Okay, so those are the two things.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna fail, and then some thoughts that you were having from work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, so let's dive into the first one. So what was going on? You already told me that you had this thought that you think you're gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
I need a little bit more information. So what was going on? What were you doing when you had this thought?
Well, we're working on this one project
Okay.
in class. What we're doing is we're coming up with a program
Okay.
for the homeless people.
Sounds interesting.
It's very interesting, but the research is really getting me.
Okay.
And just trying to find the correct research, and then this APA format is just really bothering me. And I just want to make a good grade.
Okay.
And then my group members are texting me, and I just feel pressured because, I don't want to let my group members down, because I'm that type of person. I just feel like I'm letting people down.
Okay.
And so it's just so much homework going on, and I just feel like I'm going to fail because.
Do you feel like feeling is an emotion? We have to remember that. So I want you to identify the thought that you are having.
My thought is I'm going to fail.
Your thought is you're going to fail. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any physical side effects to that? Any physical symptoms? Maybe sweaty palms, or crying, or shaking?
I started crying. I had a meltdown.
Okay.
I
Tell me about that.
I came home from work,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting into doing my homework, and I was just surfing the web on McKee Library,
Okay.
trying to find some research for my paper, and I couldn't find nothing. And I just started shaking, and then I start crying, and I just had a meltdown. I had a meltdown for 30 minutes
Okay.
because I was like, I'm gonna fail.
Okay. So you're starting your homework, and it got a lot, and you had this meltdown, and you're crying, and you had the thought that I'm gonna fail.
I did.
All right. Well, and how much did you believe that at the time?
I was at 10.
You were at a 10. You strongly believed that you were gonna fail.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about those feelings, those emotions. So we identified the thought that you thought you were gonna fail. So now, what were you feeling?
I was just feeling sad,
Depressed.
because my family's dependent on me, and I don't want to let them down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you were sad, depressed. Were you anxious at all or stressed at all?
I was just shaking, and I was
Okay.
just so anxious.
Okay, so anxious, sad, depressed. Okay, and how intense were those emotions? So 0 to 100%. So 0 being the least that you felt those emotions, and 100 that you 100% felt those emotions. Where were you?
I was at a 10.
At a 10, so like 100% type
Oh,
of
I'm
thing?
sorry. I was at 100%.
Okay, 100%?
Mhm.
Okay, so you 100% believe those. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. And so let's go through that. So what was the effect of you believing that you were gonna fail?
The fact is, I couldn't find no research on the question I was looking up. I couldn't find anything to back up my source. That's one thing I hate. Why do we have to find research? Why can't we can I just put down my opinion? Homeless people need homes. Why do I have to find research?
Yeah, well, research does have its purpose and evidence-based practice, but of course, Someone who works with a homeless person, of course, is going to know a lot as well. So there's both sides to each one. So if your friend was in this situation, Felicia, what would you tell her to do if she was feeling as depressed and sad and she was overwhelmed with her schoolwork? What would you tell her?
I would tell my friend, you got through the bachelor's program, and I noticed that you were having problems and struggling then, and now you're learning at a higher level, and it is a little challenging, but you can still make it just like you made it in the bachelor's program.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Okay, so now we're gonna talk a little bit about what cognitive distortions are. So do you know what a cognitive distortion is?
Kind of, but I'm just a little confused.
So a cognitive distortion, I'm going to read off what it is because I really want you to understand. So it's our mind convincing us of something that isn't really true. So and these cognitive distortions reinforce negative thinking. And if you remember, CBT is all about changing and altering those negative thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So these cognitive distortions, their purpose is to keep us feeling bad about ourselves. Yeah. So I have a list of different cognitive distortions, and as you were telling me about, what was going on, what you were thinking, I identified catastrophizing as your cognitive distortion. And that is that you believe that what has happened or will happen will be so awful and unbearable that you won't be able to stand it. So i.e., I'm going to fail. It would be so terrible. The worst thing is that I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you think that's an accurate description of what you were thinking?
That sounds just like me.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about what would be the worst outcome. What would be the worst thing that could happen from this thought, from this situation?
That I fail.
Okay.
And that my family will be sad.
Okay.
They will be disappointed in me.
That's the worst thing, that your family would be disappointed.
Yeah.
And what would be the best thing that could happen? The most amazing thing that could happen?
The best thing that can happen is I graduate come August 12th, whenever the day is that we get all of our internship hours, that I am complete and I graduate.
Good. Okay, so what do you think would be the most realistic thing, though? Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle would be that I graduate, but that I make A's and B's.
Okay. So realistically, it would be A's and B's, and the best thing would be graduating with all A's.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing would be not graduating at all.
Yeah.
Well, I think you did a really good job of describing, the worst, the best, and the most realistic. So that's really good that you understand what was the most realistic thing. So how much do you believe each of those? How much do you believe that the worst thing is going to happen, that you're going to fail?
How much do I believe it now?
How much do you believe it? So from 0 to, at the time when you were feeling overwhelmed, not right now, at the time when you were feeling stressed and sad, how much did you believe it? Again, from 0 to 100%.
Then I was at a 10.
At
100, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I changed the schedule. I changed not the schedule, I changed the scale on you. That's okay. So 100. And how much did you believe that you were going to graduate with all A's come August?
At that time, I was 100.
So you believed both of them, 100, that you were going to fail and that you were going to graduate with all A's?
That I was going to fail? Yeah, I was going to fail 100, and the A's was like a 10.
Oh, okay. So that was lower in the percentage, so like a 10%, you would say? Okay, and how much did you believe the most realistic thing?
The most realistic thing, I was probably at 50.
At a 50. So do you see how you have the most worst thing way up here at 100.
Yeah.
And then you have the best outcome down here at 10%, and then you have the most realistic thing here in the middle at 50. Yeah.
Middle.
Okay. And so now that we've talked through the whole thing, we've discussed what would happen and what that looks like. How much do you believe your automatic thought right now?
Right now, I believe it to be from a scale to 1 to 10.
Sure, yeah, scale from 1 to 10.
Out of 4.
Out of 4? So if we transfer that to percentages, that's a 40%. That's way less than you were before. And what emotions do you feel now? Do you feel sad? Do you feel the depressed and the anxiety that you were feeling at that time? Or do you feel it as intensely?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm down. I feel better.
Okay.
After talking with you.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So what do you think you're going to do with having all this information? What are you going to do with it this week?
Well, I like how you brought out, like, what would I tell a friend?
Mm-hmm.
And that has really helped me.
Okay.
Because I just got to start thinking of what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
And how that can help me in my future.
And
I don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I'm not talking out loud about my
Mm-hmm.
issues. And it's really helped me to come here and just to talk.
Okay.
And just to remember, because sometimes I think that I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And those cognitive distortions that you were talking about, the things that I'm thinking are not even true sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
My thoughts are not really accurate, and I just gonna alter my way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. And the more that we work together, the more that you'll have coping skills to identify those thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna keep getting better. So we're coming down to the end of our session. So according to our agenda, we were going to work on the problems, and I'm sorry we don't have time to talk about work today, but we'll be able to do that in the next session. We can start off with that if you would like. So how about we talk about some new homework for the week?
Oh, yeah.
So you did a good job with your thought record. You were very thorough, but I would like to add to that this week.
Okay.
I would like, if you would like to, we can add some positive thoughts. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
So along with writing a negative thought that you think, write a positive thought as well.
Okay.
Okay? And that could be anything.
Okay.
Okay, and so you were talking about just reminding yourself of that earlier. That's what you're going to take with you this week, reminding yourself what's been going on. So would you be willing to write that down on a little card, like an affirmation card, and then looking at that? So instead of relying on yourself to remember, you can look at it.
Oh, good. Okay, I can do that.
You can do that?
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. I have some cards. You can write on it on your way out, and you can put that wherever you want. And how many times a day do you think you'll be able to look at it?
I would say maybe 3 times a
3
day.
times a day? I think that's good. Morning, when you get back from work before you start your homework, and then at night before you go to bed. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, good. All right, so let's just summarize so we can reinforce what we've learned and what we've talked about today. So you came in, earlier just feeling very stressed. You were at an 8, and so you're very stressed about what was going on with the week, what was going on with your schoolwork and your groups and your assignments, and you came in with the thought that I'm going to fail. And we discussed that. We talked about what was going to be the worst thing that could happen, which would be the not graduating, and the best thing that you'd graduate with all A's, and now, but the most realistic thing that you would graduate. You'd get good grades, and you'd still graduate. A's and B's, those are good grades, and you're gonna graduate. So that's really good. So we've discussed a whole cycle of thoughts, and we've addressed those and accurately described what a correct thought would be. So that's really good. So now we've come to the part of feedback. So was there anything that I missed today?
I feel like you covered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really helped me out.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. And you said you wanted to focus on work for the next session.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything that you want me to do differently for the next session?
No.
Okay, alright, well, Alicia, I'm really glad you came in today, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.